Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Freshman Podcast. I'm one of your co-hosts, Dr. Myron Rolle.
I'm EJ Manuel.
And, this is a great episode, and I'm excited for it because we're joined by my family, by my guy, Samari Rolle,
Legend.
All-Pro, legend, All-ACC, Pro Bowl, cornerback for the Tennessee Titans and the Baltimore Ravens, Ed Block Courage Award winner. I was there when he won that. I was there in Baltimore. Come on, baby, I'm throwing it back. But no, Samari is, he means a lot to me personally.
Yeah.
He is, a role model for me, and I'll get into some of the stories.
We got to get into the stories.
That sort of, we go back very far, but thanks for being here, man. Appreciate
thank you for having me, both
Absolutely.
of you. It's really good to see you all. I remember when you all were in school, and now to see you all as men with family and doing this is good.
Appreciate that.
Really good.
Appreciate that.
No doubt. Now, take us from, you're from here in Miami. Started here, started playing ball here, raised by two phenomenal parents. And you had the opportunity to go anywhere to play college football. And being from here, when the University of Miami was hot, I remember you telling me, you were like, man, I didn't want to be there. Bobby Bowden came to see me right after winning the national championship, I believe.
Yes, they won it down here. They beat Nebraska.
And it showed up at your doorstep and wanted you there. So what went into that decision? Tell me about your youth bringing up in football. How did it all go for you?
Well, I was kind of an outlier when it came to sports teams because I never liked any of the home teams. I was never a Dolphins fan. I was a Chicago Bears fan because of Walter Payton. I liked the Bulls. I liked North Carolina, and Florida State because they always just seemed organized and, that.
Yes, sir.
It just looked so neat. And I just always believed in them. And when you're down here, it's like you're crazy if you don't root for the home team and this and that. But it's bigger than that. It's almost like if you're winning down here, you're still not winning right. Like the Dolphins right now, Tua. Right. They can't stand him. But now he's out. Oh, we need Tua. Right. When we get Tua back, we're going to be back. So, it's football down here, like you were asking me about upbringing and everything with sports. It's a way of life for the youth, but it's also fool's gold. In the sense of Little League. You're from 6U, 7U, 8U, 9U, 10U, 11U, 12U, 13U. Now imagine sitting out there every Saturday. You see the same thing. You know who's going to win. You know who's going to score. You can have a park from 6 to 13 and none of them will win. None of the teams will win. So you're sitting there like, man, is this what we're really doing? So if you got a good kid on a subpar team, he would be on the good team next year because you pull the dad to the side or mom, hey, over here it's not working. Yeah. Come over to us, we play nationally, you do this, you that, and then that team is worse the next year. Right. So it's you guys were around the Florida, the South Florida guys, so you know what they're about. Yeah.
Well, it's like that in Virginia, too. Me being from VA and that specific Hampton Road 757 area, a lot of great athletes come from there. So I definitely understand what you're saying, Samari. But I want to touch on that youth sport part because you have a young teenage son right now. You have a daughter that's at University of Hampton. Hampton University. I want to make sure I say that correctly, HU. I think now in 2024, parents get so caught up in wanting their kid to specialize in football or basketball or golf or really one sport.
Correct.
When we were young, I know I'm a little younger than you, but we still played basketball, we played football, we played hockey, we played baseball, whatever in the street. You know what I mean?
Right.
The street light was first base. We throw a frisbee that'd be second base, and the other street light was third base. You know what I mean? That was our baseball down. Do you still think that's important for the youth to still play multi-sports when they're in that 6U, 7U, 8U type of age?
It is, but you got to be realistic, EJ. Down here and across the country, baseball, we've been priced out of baseball.
Right.
I'm talking about our race, our ethnicity, all of that has been priced out. Travel baseball, for instance, a good bat, $199. The really good bat, $350. Glove, $100. Travel fee, like $200 a month, $250 a month. Shoes, helmet.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Like
I didn't even think about it.
you know what I mean? And travel and all that. So like it's hard for us to be able to have everything and be able to compete fairly with them because as you know, if you play baseball is hard, man. Like football, you can pull up and get out the car. And you know, like, you know, and beat it, man.
Some cleats, maybe some sneakers. That's all you need.
Basketball, pull up, man. Give me some shoes.
Right.
But baseball, nah, man.
That's real.
That ball is moving, and so you need to have the resources to be able to compete with these guys that are, you know, that got a trainer every day, baseball trainer, or homeschool, just doing this, baseball. So with my son playing travel baseball, I got to see the other side of it. Like, you know, football, we get a bad rap because when you come up, youth football, you come up to the game, you're gonna smell the ribs, you're gonna smell the weed, you're gonna have the loud DJ, you know, you're gonna have the dad.
It's a vibe,
you're gonna have the dad in the parking lot cussing out the coach. No, he never coming back here, man. You know what you're doing.
With a towel over his shoulder,
let's go. You know what I mean? So you get that, but at the same time, the baseball field, Connor's dad is over there arguing. Connor played first base last week. Carson played leadoff. Now this week you got this tournament. You bring Francisco, you bring Diego, and now DeAndre's back leadoff. You know what I mean? So like, you smell Polish sausage. They might have lattes. You know what I mean? Like it's different. It's the same
got
stuff,
dogs walking around.
But it's the same. But it's just on a different level.
That's
you
so
know what
true,
I mean?
man.
So, and I think it's kind of unfair. Because you hear a lot of older people say, oh man, back in our day, like how you said, you know, we played baseball and we played this and that. You can't play baseball. If you go into black neighborhoods right now, you might have first base and it might be third base.
Right.
It's no other base. Like,
that's why I said had that frisbee back there.
You know what I mean? And then
that's real,
who has enough money to have 9 gloves?
Right.
What if we got 3 left-handed kids? Like I didn't even know if you were left-handed.
A right-hand glove.
Yeah.
Yep.
You can only pitch or play first base. I never knew that.
Wow.
Like it was just learning stuff. And if we had the resources or if we were able to focus on that, we could definitely dominate that sport easily.
See, what I'm hearing too though is there's levels to it as well. Because I guess what I'm thinking is more like the rec league. And again, I've been out of youth sports for a long time because I don't have my kids that are that age yet. But I was just thinking, like, we still have rec league baseball, right? Where you don't have to pay, what, $100 fee or get a T-shirt with a number on the back of it.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, you still have, but obviously you're talking about the sophisticated part of travel baseball and having to spend real money to actually be really good.
I think I was telling you earlier, E, when I was getting recruited out of high school, Bob Stoops in Oklahoma, they were the first school to offer me a scholarship. Stoops was like, Myron, I want to recruit players who play multiple sports because I don't want guys who are just playing football. I want guys to be able to move and use their different muscle groups and have that dexterity. Stoops never came to watch me play football my junior or senior year. Offered me when I went to camp there. He came to watch me hoop. I had like 12 points and like 6 rebounds, you know. Hustle points, you know what I mean?
You're a layup guy.
Draymond. Do the dirty work. I was more athletic than everybody out there, so I was just using my athleticism, man.
Yeah.
But we were playing like St. Benedict's, you know, St. Anthony.
Some real hoop
playing some real team. Blair Academy.
Hurley?
With Charlie Villanueva and Lou Aldangs.
Oh, dang. That's playing 6'10"?
Squad. Yes.
How many you score?
I had maybe like 4 or 5 that game.
But I mean, you played against NBA dudes. Like East Coast basketball, but you all got it.
Thank you. Yeah, you got to get it. Yeah. I mean, people talk about LeBron James being the best high school basketball player ever, which he probably is, but very close to is DeJuan Wagner. This guy named DeJuan Wagner from Camden,
Played
New Jersey.
at Pitt.
He went to
Memphis.
I'm checking. Okay.
Yeah, brothers.
Okay.
Probably.
Yeah, like that?
Yeah, like that. But I guess the point I was getting to was Stoops came to watch you play basketball because he emphasized being that multifunctional athlete. Do you think that having those other sports pedigrees, being able to have hand-eye coordination, being able to change direction as a tennis player if you're doing that, while also being a football player, do you think that's going to help you as a P4 player or an NFL player down the line? Did you see any of that with your teammates, or do you see that now as the guys coming up?
I definitely think it helps. People don't know one of the most athletic players on the team are punters and kickers. Like these dudes are amazing athletes. They can shoot basketball, pool, bowl. You know, like
that's a great
they are
point,
really
man.
they are
Dustin
really
Hopkins
athletic dudes.
was like
Yes,
that, yeah.
Oh, was he?
Yeah, absolutely, bro. Yep. Can dance, everything, bro. Like got footwork. Yeah.
Craig Hentrick.
Yep.
I played with in Tennessee Duke, could throw. Janikowski at Florida State.
Yeah.
I've seen Sebastian walk up to the basket at the Leach Center and dunk backwards.
What?
At like 260. You know what I mean? So, and you know, he was really good in soccer. So definitely the more sports you play, and I don't mean like just being on a track team, just running in places. But if it's another sport that you can play or help coordination and all of that, go for it.
Yeah. Samari, obviously you reached the pinnacle of what we would say of the career, right? It's one thing to make the league, but it's one thing to play 10 plus years. It's another thing to get, you know, Pro Bowl recognition, to play in Super Bowls and all that kind of stuff. I remember playing with you in Madden back in the day, truthfully, bro. Not to date you, bro, you know what I mean? But just being real. What did it take, man? Like, there's going to be some listeners there's going to be a corner out there right now that's 14 that watches this, and he's going to see you, then he's going to watch you on YouTube. He's going to see the great clips and the great plays, but maybe he won't see the things that, you know, those dark nights, those dark moments, you know what I mean? Those out the mud kind of moments, right? Where it was like kind of, you know, rubber meeting the road there. What did it take to become yourself? As an athlete.
As an athlete. I think one thing that kind of hurt me was the fact that on my like youth football, I was never considered the best player on my team. Like maybe top 8, maybe top 10, something like that. So I had to grow on my body. So it's like I was just okay developing, you know. So no one really expected much out of me. But my dad always, in the back of, you know, he'd always be like, son, you're right where you need to be. Just keep developing. You're right where you need to be. Don't rush it, don't rush it. So we get to high school, and it's like once I start, the end of 11th grade, it's like, bam, it just came out of nowhere. And I think what the problem with that was I relied too much on my ability for so long. And that's why me and Coach Andrews used to clash so much at Florida State, because he's like, yeah, you made a great play here, but what about the other 4 that you gave up? And man, this is how it worked. This is how it worked before. But once you realize you got to put that strain every play, and like you really got to concentrate and focus, then you get the satisfaction out of like, man, I really did this. But if you just try and coast and get by on talent, it doesn't work.
Yeah, nice. That's great, man. Because I mean, your career is something that I admired for a long time. I remember the first time we had a real sit-down conversation. You know, I was just talking to him and I was trying to get advice, and you know, I was expecting him to say something around football, right? Like, oh man, you know, you got to make sure you break on the in route like this or whatever. He's like, man, keep God first. You know, and it was like, you know, make sure God's first. And I'm proud of you for your academics. Football didn't even come into conversation until like, you know, 10 minutes into the conversation. So I appreciate that. I'm gonna get into the stories, man. I'm gonna get into the stories, man.
That's what we're here for.
Because Knob is, when I tell you, Knob is like my hero, man. I mean, Samari is somebody who means so much to me. Been at every important moment of my life, essentially, my wedding, my medical school graduation, you know, I mean.
I didn't come to one Florida State game. He was going to throw that.
Let me get ahead of that.
Let me stop that right now.
Yeah, I was going to say that. He didn't come to my football games, man. He was like, hey, I'm going to come when y'all get better, man. I'm like, yeah. All right, bro.
Rightfully so. Right.
But nah, he's been so special to me. And, you know, honestly, before I married LaToya, if I had a woman that I was interested in, I'd bring her by Samari and Miss Tanisha, like, hey, man, make sure she's okay for me, you know? And they would like really vet her for me, essentially. But one story I really want to tell, because I think this speaks to your character and it speaks to who you are as a man and as a leader you've been for me in my life. We were at your house. This is when I was in
I know where
undergrad.
this is going.
Yeah. Undergrad at FSU. And I would always hang around. I'd always be around. You know, we work out together.
He's in the league at this point, too.
He's in the
right?
league.
Okay,
He's in the league.
yeah, so I know what time it is.
Yeah, so we're.
I know what the house looking like.
Yeah, you know what the house looking like. So we're in the theater room, man. And, you know, we're watching, I don't know, watching like.
Theater room.
Yeah, you know, this guy got theater room, man. You know, multiple rooms. He got theater room, too.
Yeah.
Watching some boxing match. I can't remember, Pacquiao or somebody. I don't know. But there's a lot of people in there. Maybe from, you know, where he grew up.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
They were in there.
Okay.
And they were passing some stuff around.
Sure, yeah.
And it got to me. And I had never done that before, right? And I wasn't trying to do it. And then the dude didn't know who I was, but he passed it to me or tried to pass it to me. Samari steps in and was like, nah, man, what you doing, man? It's like, you know, that's my role. What are you doing? And at that moment, I couldn't speak up for myself because they were older than me. They were more popular than me. You know, these are grown men. I'm still a kid. But Samari stepped in for me when I couldn't speak up for myself and was like, no, he's not doing that.
Right.
This brother's going to be great one day. I got to protect his future. And he really yelled at the guy who tried to give me that stuff. And I was like, that meant so much to me. I don't know if I ever told you. I know I told you that, but I haven't told the world that. It mattered a lot to me, brother, because you looked out for me, you protected me, you made sure I was straight. And that was a moment that I felt like, you know, you will always cover me, and I'll never forget it. And when you have people like that in your life,
good,
you got to give them their flowers, man. So I appreciate you for that, brother. You know
Oh,
what I'm
no.
saying?
But
Always.
I appreciate the fact that you didn't freak out or anything, because they had no business even initiating that.
Right,
you know what I mean? Not knowing who this was. And I'm like, man, this dude is going to be the president one day.
Yep.
Like, this is what I said. He's going to be the president one day. And bad decision making by them, but you know.
It's all good.
Yes.
It's all good.
So I do want to get into something that has been a conversation that I want to get your opinion on. So Cam Newton, has a podcast of his own, and he gets a lot of likes and clicks and views for his podcast. He has some very good content that he puts out. He just signed on ESPN.
He's at First Take.
On First Take. I saw a tweet that a guy made who is a black journalist and said, you know what? Black journalists are now getting boxed out of sports media because you have the Cam Newtons and the Ryan Clarks of the world having these podcasts and then just sort of like fast tracking their way onto these shows. And the people who have gone to journalism school, who have put in the training, who put in the work, who aren't athletes, they're getting boxed out of that. What's your opinion on black media journalists, especially sports journalists? Should it be reserved for those people who go through that regimented education pathway? Or should there be a space for the guys like Cam or Ryan or other guys to come in and have an opportunity to speak their piece?
I think everyone should have an opportunity to speak their piece. I mean, look, we're here with you guys doing this, which is great. You don't want to hear the same thing. Like we were talking about earlier, I know what this guy's going to say because he doesn't like him, and vice versa, so let's flip it. I think it's really good, man. I don't like when it's kind of known, you know, this is my guy. I'm a Clutch guy, or I'm a Rosenhaus guy, you know what I mean? So we're not going to speak facts. We're going to move it around or however we can.
Sure.
The best show to me is It Is What It Is with Cam and Mace. Because
They keep it
like,
real.
if one of them didn't watch the game, they're not gonna act like they watched the game and come up with some fakes. Man, I didn't watch it last night. You know, I'm not one feeling or whatever. I had something come over. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like I like that. You know, that they're not sitting up there just trying to play the game and fake it. I like Gil's Arena also.
Oh yeah,
they're very funny, and Ticket. And KG.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, and
Paul Pierce.
Ticket and Truth. That's really good.
That's
really good. But another thing is people that do it the traditional way, if they've got the source, now the inside source, now everybody else is beneath them.
Right.
Kind of like, I found out, a guy told me, if you want to know who the source is, look at the guy they never say anything bad about on your team. And I was like, wow,
great point.
That makes sense.
That's real.
Right there.
Well, I'll jump in. Not so much how do you like, but do you think it's also important? Because I think even in what I do, to acknowledge the positives within what an athlete or what a team is doing too. Because I think a lot of times on shows, The big story, of course, that's going to push the needle is the negative.
Yeah.
The Cowboys lose, you already know that's going to be the first conversation on a bunch of different shows. If LeBron didn't have a good game, it's going to be the first conversation on a bunch of good shows. But then if LeBron has an amazing game, it might get hit on for a minute, 2 minutes within a 60-minute show. But I still think it's important. I think that's more for me as a former player, for us to still celebrate the positives of what athletes are doing, whether it's on or off the court, on or off the football field. Do you agree with that?
I agree, but the positive isn't going to get you to click.
Sure.
And, get you
The views
30 other
and-
views or the
right,
30
right,
seconds or whatever to see
Yeah.
if it's real or not.
Right.
But I prefer authenticity. Like you said, are you in between? You know what I
Right.
mean? Like the fact that you do ACC, our school is in ACC country, and we've won one game this year.
Yep.
So are you able to let them have it, or do you have to tiptoe in?
I'm absolutely able to let them have it, but I think the way I see it is we all know, you all watched the game, right? And obviously the team is not as good as we were last year, the years before. Personally, I think this might be potentially the worst team we might have ever had, truthfully, because I don't think I've ever seen FSU be 1-6.
Yeah, never.
1-5 in the conference.
Yeah.
Now,
Not even in the Taggart eras.
yeah, so I mean, of course, there's a balance, right? For real, there's a balance, Samari,
love you,
where
love you, brother.
I can be objective, but at the same time, do I need to go in and double down and double triple dog on somebody? Nah, I mean, you can watch the game and know, yeah, they played bad,
Right.
And I'm gonna say that, I'm gonna be objective, I'm gonna give my thoughts on it as to why they play bad. Cause see, there's a difference between bashing somebody versus being analytical. I'm an analyst. Right, so I'm gonna give you X's and O's. I'm gonna give you the why this guy threw 3 interceptions back to back to back. I'm gonna give you the why as to the coaching decision to go with this DB versus the other guy, right? Versus the personal attacks. That's not something that I want to be a part of. That's not my thing.
Right.
Right. You know what I'm saying? Because
That's not even your personality or your
Nah, but we all played the game too. You know what I mean? And as a quarterback, not that it desensitized me, but I don't think that's my role to come at you like, man, Samari, sorry because of da-da-da. Nah, like Samari might have had an off day and he got beat on the double move and he fell for the hitch and they threw it over his head. That's the X's and O's. That's a why. Why did he miss that? Because his eyes were at the receiver instead of looking at the quarterback, reading his keys, whatever, that kind of deal. So I think it's a balance within it. And if that stunts where I go, so be it. Like I don't really want to get into that to be a part of the rat race in the sense of, well, I don't look for clicks or views, man. Like that's not what I want to do. That's not my thing.
So what if Samari played bad that week, then the next week, and then the next week,
right?
then had
I'm following where you're going. Yeah.
And then, so like, at what point you like, man, this ain't it. Like, you know what I mean?
Well, I think
for credibility's sake.
Yeah.
Sure. One, it has to come up organically too, within a conversation. And I know that my voice is very powerful because I played at FSU. And, I'm in the record books. You know what I'm saying? I didn't win a national championship, but I won all 4 of my bowl games.
Come on.
I'm proud of that. You know what I mean? I'm proud that I wore 3. I'm proud of the guys who wore 3 after me. Derwin James and Cook and I don't think Cook wore 3. He wore 4. Cam Akers. You know what I mean? Like I'm proud of that.
Right.
Trey Benson.
Nobody's worn mine since, but
I knew that was coming up.
It ain't retired.
Somebody wore 2, baby. Nah, it's true.
So was it you and Prime?
It was Prime.
Clifton Abraham, and then me.
And then
And that's it.
I know.
Is the joint retired?
He told me that every single time.
It was already retired. I just said so he
You
remembers.
been Prime. Yeah.
So he remembers.
But you know what? I'm glad you mentioned that, man, because I do want to be. I know I am authentic to it, and I do think it's important to be objective. I just don't believe it's important for me to be like, man, y'all. It's just a difference in saying y'all are trash versus saying why y'all are trash. You know what I mean?
Right.
There's a way that you can go about doing it in a professional manner. That's just what I'm about. Yeah.
I also think there's something, and this is going to be, I don't know, maybe just my intrusive thoughts coming out.
Right.
I also think there's something to like talking down on a fellow athlete, especially a fellow athlete of color, when you are subjected to a lot of criticism just anyway, just regardless. I know it's your role. I know you're paid to do it, but it just feels, a little bit like you're just adding to venom and an inertia that already exists based on the fact that you look how you look.
Right.
And you know, again, I don't want to put race all into it, but it plays a factor sometimes when you have, you know, an athlete like if Lamar Jackson has a poor game, you know, he shouldn't be the MVP. He's terrible. He's just a runner. You know, he's a runner turned quarterback, blah, blah, blah. Right. But Josh Allen has a poor game. It's like, well, you know, he just had a couple off days. Sure. Justin Herbert has a bad game. He just had an off day. You know, he still looks more quarterback-y, right? It's just all of these. It's like, it's like
there's parts of that.
There's some directed venom that is definitely different. The vitriol is different. Depends on who you're talking to or who you're talking about. And so that kind of leads me to my next question, Nab, is on media and on how people handle the media. When you see these questions that are asked to athletes, now the NFLPA had talked about not having reporters in the locker room to ask questions post-game or post-practice, but just the questions that are asked to these players, do you think that it is an obligation for these athletes to answer questions, to be straightforward and forthright with their responses, even in the midst of reporters who may be one seeking to get them like caught up, like a gotcha question, or that reporter may have written something poorly about them in the past and said, well, you're still going to answer my question because I have this bad media credential. You're going to answer my question. You're going to do what I say. Do you think there's sort of like a balance that can exist, and are players just sort of, you know, on display as entertainers, and part of the entertainment is they got to answer these questions, and sometimes they don't want to?
No, I mean, I think it comes with the territory. You like, we know we signed up for, and when you sit down and have that training camp meeting, and they're showing you why you're supposed to talk to the media a certain way, and it can pay off to you working in the media when you're done playing, and you see all the former quarterbacks and everything. So I think if a person's question can upset you that much and infuriate you to where you just lose it all, then just don't talk. Take the fine or whatever. I mean, it's been times where I knew I was going to get fined, but I still did it. Like that night, the ref called me boy. The Patriots, the year the Patriots were undefeated, and the ref called me a boy. Man. Wow. Bart Scott heard him say it. If anybody knows Bart, 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 the mad backer. Bart don't play. And Bart picked up a flag and just slung the flag, man, because he heard what the umpire said. Like, boy, and dude was like 6'5", 6. He used to play, journeyman or whatever, but he used to play. And that was the one time to where, like, I didn't care about whatever. We were terrible that year. The Patriots were undefeated that year. Like, that was our night to, one game. One game doesn't define the season, but that that would have been okay right there. And for him to call me boy, and they asked me about it after the game and everything, and Ray Anderson ended up coming to Baltimore the next day and sat down with me and Bart, and it was cool. But you just can't let him lead you there. It's almost like if you know this guy, I don't want to say the fat dude's name, but the dude that's always criticizing.
Whitlock.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like somebody like that, know where he's going. So it's not.
So would you say it's better, and this is a great question. I think this is good for every young athlete who might get into college football or get in the NFL to hear this from you. So it is okay to be like, I don't even want to do that interview. For example, when Marshawn was like, I'm just here so I don't get fined. And Sean was there the entire time. The entire time he said, I'm only here so I don't get fined.
That's right.
And for whatever reason it was that he didn't want to speak that day, sure. But like you're saying, it's almost better for us athletes to step in and say that versus actually going in and giving our real thoughts as to a situation.
Yeah, or
you know what I mean? Like,
or sometimes if give them the answer they want.
Right.
Like, okay, this is what
Just to get it out the way.
This is what you're hinting at. You think we need to make a change at quarterback or whatever. Okay, here you go. We haven't won a road game since this guy's been our starter. Right. We haven't done this. We haven't done that. Is that what you want? Did you get what you need?
Yeah.
There was one time I said, we haven't beaten a good quarterback yet. in Tennessee.
So you haven't beaten a
we haven't beaten a good quarterback yet. I mean, we
I'm curious who got mad off of that. Was it the DC? Was it the head coach? Like, was it the D-line? Like, who got mad after that comment?
It was one of those things where Jeff came in, he was like, "You've earned that right."
right.
He's like, "You've earned that right."
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, look, that's a great place to be in the league too. You earn that kind of juice.
Definitely.
Who was your mentor when you were young in your career in the NFL? Because I know that was something I wish I really had, truthfully. I know when I was in the quarterback room with Buffalo, it was myself, Jeff Toole, who was also a rookie, but an undrafted rookie, came out of Washington State.
Oh, he can't.
And it was supposed to be Kevin Cobb.
He can't help you.
Yeah, you know what I mean? That's real. That's why I asked the question. Because we both trying to figure it out. You know what I mean? We're both trying. I'm leaning on Eric Wood, who was my center. I think he would have been in the league maybe 9 years at that point, 8 or 9 years.
He went to Miami?
He went to Louisville.
Okay.
He went to Louisville and played for the Bills for a long time until a neck injury. But, Samari, for you, I guess twofold question. Do you think that's important? And also, who was maybe your vet on your teams that helped you learn to be a pro?
Having a vet is probably the most important thing for a guy, I won't say immature, but a guy trying to figure out their way and how to do things the right way. Now, in order for you to have a vet, the vet's got to see something in you.
Sure.
Also, right, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I had Stevie Jackson, Marcus Robinson, and Blaine Bishop. Like those three used to stay on me, but not in a disrespectful way, but in a way like, I see you
right.
You
got something.
Right.
Yeah.
And then the best thing was having Jerry Gray as my coach.
Right.
That was the cherry on top. He was a younger version of Mickey, but in a cooler, cooler way. And it's like once he left, never made the Pro Bowl, never made All Pro. Like my career was still fine, but like with Jerry there, I don't know, man. It's like you got a coach telling you 3x1 on the backside. If you don't jump this 3-step out, you're coming out.
Right.
I'm gonna do that.
I'm gonna jump that route.
Right. You just told me, so you know what I mean. So
you need the answer to the test.
Yeah, you need somebody like that.
Right.
Definitely.
Yeah. Blaine's a good dude, and full circle, Mark Robb was my DB coach in Tennessee.
I thought so. Yeah.
Matter of fact,
really?
I met. Yeah, he was. Yeah, and I met Mark Robb at your house. I was training one time. He came over, and we just dapped it up real quick, and we kind of hung out. And then at the Senior Bowl, I see him. He's like, hey, Ro. You know, he's from Pasadena,
right? Cali.
Hey, Ro. You remember when we was over Samari's house? I was like, yeah, I remember. He was like, yeah, that was me. I was like, okay, what's up?
Yeah, it's love.
Next thing you know, 6th-round pick, man, pick 207. Hey, man, you ready to be a Titan?
Word.
Mark Robb, what's up? So it all comes back full circle.
Yes, it does. Yeah, Mark
fantastic.
Robb was my guy, man.
Yeah, he's a great brother.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, shout out to Mark Robb.
I think he's still coaching.
I think so.
As a matter of fact.
Is this Mark Robb that played at Iowa State? Did he play at
Iowa State? Yeah. How you know that?
Funny enough, man. So on my SiriusXM radio show, we were talking about Iowa State yesterday because they're having a pretty good season, but I think they almost lost to UCF. Right, almost lost to UCF.
Yeah.
And somehow we got into the conversation about who was the most famous Iowa State football player. And naturally you go to Brock Purdy first because he's had the most success recently.
Right.
I went Seneca Wallace.
Oh, wow.
They had a quarterback. Troy Davis, right?
I was going to say,
don't
disrespect Troy Davis.
No,
Dade County, class of 94.
For me. Young black quarterback EJ at 11. I'm watching college football. I see a dude that kind of looked like me, and he balling. And that was Seneca Wallace for me, man. He played for, I don't know how many years he played in the league.
Would Seneca Wallace throw the ball, or would he?
He was taking off. Yeah, exactly. Oh, yeah. But he played in the league. I might play receiver at some point.
I remember Seneca Wallace. Yeah,
no doubt.
And Mark Robb had a curl.
Yep.
Back then from Cali.
Yeah, he did. Funny enough, the picture I Googled, he had a curl in it. So.
Didn't Reese Hall go to Iowa State also? The running back for the Jets?
Brees Hall, yep.
Brees Hall, yeah, that's right.
Yep.
That's right. Yeah, he might. Honestly, he might end up being that guy.
Yeah. No, it's certainly trending that way. I think the media piece is really, really cool to talk with you, man. I even appreciate how you kind of asked me that question. When you look at somewhat of the landscape of athletes transitioning to media, but even while they're playing, Right, like a lot of guys got the podcast. A lot of guys, for example,
I hate that. Man.
You don't like it?
I
was going to ask about like Micah Parsons, for example, linebacker at Dallas.
I don't like it, man.
Okay,
because
prefer to just lock in on your sport.
Draymond got a podcast like, in his hotel room.
Well, look, Draymond.
After the game.
But here's the thing: Draymond gonna be on that TV, TNT desk.
He's grandfathered in. Like Draymond is really good.
He can be a Hall of Famer, man. You know what I mean?
He got four rings. You know, like
he does a good job.
Yeah, and he does it right.
Yeah.
So Draymond is good. Draymond will say if he didn't play well or something like that.
Right.
But like I'm cool with Brandon Marsh. I like me and Brandon Marsh are cool. But when Brandon was playing for the Bears, I think it was, and going to do the NFL inside NFL thing.
HBO,
like he's the first person that I can remember that was an active player doing it at the same time. And it's like you're playing both sides of it. You know, you're with us. Yeah, you know, such and such. You see what goes on all throughout the week, but then on Monday night and Tuesday, you're over here with this side.
Yeah.
Like talking about them. Them.
Right.
them.
Yeah.
Everything is them, not me
Us,
or
we.
us.
Yeah,
we. It's just them. That team. Not my team or our team. It's just. And after a certain point, like, man, I don't want to hear y'all lost. You know what I mean? Like, you like, you know what I mean? What is it to talk about? You lost.
Right.
We got 1,000 sports shows now that can explain why you lost. But in their defense, the one with C.J. Stroud and Micah Parsons, they're good together.
Right.
Like, they got a good camaraderie. But do that at the Pro Bowl. Or something.
Right.
You know, like keep the main thing. But when you're that age, you don't know.
It's a different time.
Right.
I mean, you know what I mean? Like,
most
now,
definitely.
You know, even with our own podcast, you know what I mean? Like everybody has that opportunity to get their thoughts and their voices out there.
And I don't think it's just the players making that decision in a vacuum. I think they have their marketing people, they got their agents, they got everybody saying, hey man, you know, this is not only profitable, but it also can raise your profile so that if you do well here, maybe we get you a deal with Lululemon or Nike or Gatorade or Powerade or whatever. You know, we can parlay that into something. Speaking about endorsements and all that, the scenario and the scene of college football is so different now with NIL. And even high school, I think they're doing some NIL stuff too. General thoughts on NIL, what it's like now, what it would have been like for you back in the day if you would have went to the Moon or Whataburger or Guthrie's. Would you been spending bottles in a section at the Moon, brother? What would you been doing?
If you want a dice game at the Moon, you want a dice game with Burt Reynolds, you were going to the Moon. You were going to have a good time. But man, like really, it's good to see the kids get the money they deserve and this and that, but something rubbed me the wrong way, man. I saw the Lambos being delivered up in Tallahassee.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I thought they were someplace else, first of all. I didn't think they were actually in Tallahassee. And then I'm like, okay, maybe they're just, you know, doing it for the weekend. Like, you got a Lamborghini in Tallahassee? A Lambo truck? Come on, man.
Right. Yeah.
Like, what are we doing? We're 1-5. You going to Turks and Caicos on the bye week?
I saw that.
Like,
I saw that.
Like,
I saw that.
Like,
I saw that.
right. Like,
see, this gonna help my analysis now. Hold on. Who went to Turks and like some of the? Okay,
I'm gonna let your codes tell you. I'm not gonna be the source.
Sure, right.
Take your source.
Hey, look, source told me, man.
Codes tell you. But yeah, man, like Turks and Caicos, 1-4. What? So it's a great thing. You two would have really hit it out the park. Out of state, 5 stars, that's extra.
Yeah, for sure.
Virginia and Jersey, that's a little extra for you all.
For sure.
But what do you do with $500,000 in Tallahassee?
There's nothing you can do. Silver Slipper?
What is it? You know what I mean? So what, like that type of money shouldn't be able to change your thinking or on your outlook on how you attack what you're there for, which is school and football. But when you're getting that type of money, you're there for football.
Right.
But like, if somebody sees that you got an NIL deal, $750,000, and they see your behavior and the way you play, why would I feel comfortable giving this dude $8 million and $10 million a few years from now when I see him acting like this now with this little bit amount of money?
That's a good point.
That's almost like biblical, right? Because God talks about, and the Bible talks about like giving you a little, and then He'll increase your territory. What can you do with this little bit? And then we'll give you a lot more. But we got to see if you can handle this right now. So do you think that some of these guys who aren't able to handle this NIL money, do you think they are losing their hunger for the game, like being competitive and really trying to be a dog out there because they have that money that they maybe were searching for through the game of football?
Definitely.
Yeah.
You can see it.
Yeah.
You can see it, definitely. And it shouldn't be like that, but like the NFL, you all know at some point you got to make a choice.
Right.
You can't be, well, I'm paid now, so bye.
Right.
you know, like it's harder, as hard as it is to get to college, to get to the NFL, it's harder to stay in the NFL. That's the hardest thing it is to do. So, like I said, $700,000 to a 20, 21-year-old. Yeah, at that time, it's a lot of money.
Sure.
But when we look on your social media page, you know, these teams got all this stuff going on. Look at, and then your play doesn't match your behavior and your dress code and your jewelry and everything.
Yeah.
I can't trust this dude,
Yeah,
man.
That's a true
so
fact.
key, man.
And I even remember.
I love that.
I ain't gonna just mention our team because I think that happens all across the board, and I think it's also a very human reaction because I really can't imagine being 19, living at the Burt, you know, room 226, and getting $500,000 in my direct deposit, my SunTrust account. When I got drafted, Samar, I had $78 in my account. And I might have had like a cash advance from an agent and all that kind of stuff, but I knew that money was going back to him. And so I do think naturally it's got to help you drop your shoulders a little bit and relax. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like it's got to help you think, man, I'm okay.
Right.
But you make a great point. When you're 21 years old, yeah, that's a lot of money. But then when you're 25, you're 30, you're 35, did you somehow maybe parlay that money if you don't make it NFL, or did you get another job or career after you left Florida State or whatever school it is? So we'll see. I mean, obviously it's too soon to say because NIL's been around for a few years. But I definitely, even in my own coverage of seeing guys who might have played in 2022 and now in 2024, that hunger ain't there. You know what I mean? Like there was some dog in him back when he was hungry, literally. And
so I remember being on the Strip. All of us know what the Strip is on Tennessee Street in Tallahassee. I remember being on there with a couple of my teammates. Me, Pat Robinson, Tony Carter, Todrick Vidal, Dakota Watson, we're all hanging out at the Strip. A guy who just got drafted, first round, Broderick Bunkley.
Okay.
You know, Bunk. Bunk came back and had this like, it almost looked like the Batmobile. It was like blacked out, whatever it was, man. It was so clean. And we all looked at it and was like, man, we want that one day. We want that one day. That's the motivation. I mean, Bunk just came back. He was just saying what's up to us. He was rolling by. What's up, y'all? How y'all doing, man? Y'all good? Y'all straight? We're straight. But it was like seeing that, we were like, okay, this is what we're trying to get to.
Right.
You know, yeah, we want to get to the NFL. That's our dream. You know, my cousin played NFL, so I want to be there too. But at the same time, you're like, man, this looks pretty good what he's driving in. I want to have that. And to think these guys now can say, oh, I want to have that. Oh, I can just get it tomorrow. You know, I got it. So it is a different landscape.
And keep this in mind, they're not necessarily paying for those cars too. Like
That's
some
true.
of this stuff is an NIL deal.
Right. That's right.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, which is cool because it's like, all right, they can go ahead and get the car, but maybe it's a deal or it's a lease, whatever. I even know some of the quarterbacks, I believe Carson Beck at Georgia, and Quinn Ewers, they got private jet deals. So you can get as creative as you want.
Have you seen them play this year?
I have. I just saw him play last week. Right. But see, that's the thing that's going to be interesting is because look, even in the NFL, right, a guy can sign a $200 million contract. We all know, sure, that next Sunday he can have a bad game.
Right.
That's Brandon Ayuk, for example. He's holding out.
Man.
And he gets his money, which he deserved.
Yes, he
earned.
did.
He earned.
Yeah.
But now he's not maybe having the best start to his season. He's going to pick it up because of whatever.
Well, he's injured now, actually.
Right, but either way, I just say that's kind of a
Mm-hmm.
byproduct. But you do make a good point. It's different for college because it's new.
Right.
You know what I mean?
But in Brandon
and there's no
Ayuk's
rules
defense,
around it.
We've seen him
Put in the
enough
work.
work
Right.
to know
Right.
that yes, this
That's
is
a good point.
we do need to pay this guy.
Yeah,
You know
yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
You don't know, and I just hate the fact that sometimes it's dictating what school a kid might go
Right.
to. Man, it might be 3 quarterbacks there, but you're the hot 5-star from another state. Yeah, I guess they're gonna give me 1.5 or whatever. But you could have easily gone someplace else for 800 to $1 million. Played on the field, got on the field sooner, played better, learned, made more money.
Right.
But
On the back end.
yes,
Yeah.
But quarterback is, it's tricky, man.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
dudes transfer,
Right.
and check is ready, starting job is ready.
Yeah. I'm going to ask you another situation. So UNLV, this was big news maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago.
Yeah.
UNLV quarterback, Matthew Sluka, we talked about it on the radio show I do with Jacob Hester, decided to more or less redshirt, leave the team, because in college, for those that don't know, you can play, I think, up to 3 games and still keep a redshirt. So he had played well. UNLV was 3-0. He was a starting quarterback. Wasn't necessarily throwing the ball, but just an athlete, making plays, helping them win. He decides to stop playing because UNLV had told him in the recruiting process he would get X amount of dollars. I think it was $100,000 to come to play school here, or play football here for a year or however long. He ends up basically getting $3,000 as like a relocation fee, right? He started laughing because that's how I'm like, what? So how would you handle that if that's your son, right? Like if you're the father of that player and they told you and your son, hey, if he comes here to play, we're going to give him $250,000. He gets there, he's playing, and then they look up and they're like, hey, man, I got $5K for you, take it or leave it. That's more or less what happened in that situation.
Right,
how would you handle that if you were the father, or maybe even if you were the player?
Well, then we need to get it in writing. First of all, like we can't go off a handshake agreement or a third party agreement like that. That's not going to work. And
So hold on, because I think a listener might hear that, a young listener might hear that. You're talking a contract.
Yes, I'm sorry. Yes, contract-wise, where
Yep.
like you will be paid your $250,000 by the time this game is whatever. You know, kind of like the big schools NIL deals are.
Right.
Now you could look at it 2 ways with the part of him quitting, because I think dude is a senior.
He has one more year technically.
So
I think like a COVID year. I don't know what but he does have one more season. That's why he sat out this year.
And I saw his numbers. His numbers
weren't great.
Okay, but they just happened to be 3-0.
Yeah, they're rolling. Yeah.
And then I think the game that the backup came,
balling.
he came in balling. Way better than the other dude.
Straight up.
So that's one of those things, man. I'm just glad he didn't get a NIL funding loan or anything like that on that $250,000, because he really be in the hole.
Yeah, true.
And is he good enough to go get reimbursed? Like, did he play well enough, you think, for another school to say, we can match that or we can top that?
No.
Yeah.
As a quarterback, but as an athlete, and I think it depends on what the school is looking for. Another part for him, so 'cause I know his agent, Marcus Cromartie, played in the league too. Antonio Cromartie's cousin, actually.
Okay.
And we had him on our show, and he said the reason he didn't sign a contract is because technically he was still enrolled at Holy Cross when the decision came to go to another school. And so I guess the rule is you can't sign a contract with a new school until you're out of your previous school. So that was kind of the catch-22 for him in that specific situation, which is why it became a handshake, agreement before he gamed, which I think is the biggest thing that you said is true. You got to get it in writing. Yeah. And that's in anything. I think that's in any type of agreement, whether it's in IL, whether it's in expectation, whether it's in life, you know what I mean? Like with
real estate,
family members. Yeah, man. Like I think that's important for us to know that, because we don't know that.
Did you shake Jimbo's hand when you committed to Florida State?
And I didn't want no money involved.
No, I'm just saying. Right. No, did you shake his hand?
Absolutely.
Okay. You shook Coach Brown's hand when you committed?
Yep.
Okay, gotcha.
And it's funny you say that. So I'll give you a super fast story. So I was getting heavily recruited by a lot of schools, but my top 2 were Florida State and LSU. Now, big reason I went to FSU was because of this guy, which was smarter than to seriously. Like when I first got there, he was my host, took me out, took me to my first party, all that kind of stuff. Rumble in the Jungle, I think it was called. Good time, right? Exactly.
Good time.
So, but there were other schools that were actually throwing dollars, and again, this is before we had NIL, and so. Looking back on it, I'm like, hey, you know what I mean? Like, it'd been cool, you know what I mean? Like, I'd have had more than $78 in my SunTrust account. But ultimately, the reason why I didn't, come out of my commitment, because I committed before my senior year, I think. And the other team had won a championship, wanted me to come in for my official visit. And I ended up saying, thanks, but no thanks, because I had called Jimbo and told him, hey, coach, I'm about to go on this visit. And he's like, well, why would you want to do that? And I was like, well, I got 4 visits available, because I had already been committed. But then my dad was the one that was like, hey, son, you already committed to something. You already shook that man's hand. you got to hold down your commitment. If you already told him that this is what you're going to do, you got to honor what you said.
That's integrity.
That's integrity. And so in that moment, that's why obviously I stayed with my commitment. But I think now in this era where we're at, that next layer to young athletes is, hey, you do need to get that right. You know what I mean? Like, there are agreements now, because I didn't have the conversation about NIL.
It's becoming a business, and so you got to do business as business being
cover
done, right?
your bases.
No question. I did have a question for you, Nab and E. You know, feel free to chime in too, because I don't know. I want to take a step back from the NIL situation and look at it as, where are they putting and throwing this money at, and who are they throwing this money at to try to influence these decisions? Because if you're a kid who comes from a moderate to high income family, your family got money, you know, you go to a good school, you know, you're okay. You know, the NIL money is maybe not going to influence you as much as somebody from Miami Gardens, as somebody from, you know, Camden, New Jersey, or wherever, who come from maybe a disenfranchised background. That's like, this money can set up me, my parents, my brothers, my sisters. If I got a baby, you know, it can help my baby, you know, it can do all this stuff. Now, yeah, some of that was going on in the past, you know, already. But now it's like on Front Street, everybody sees it, everybody knows it. Do you think that there is maybe a manipulation or taking advantage of a certain demographic of student athletes who are coming out of high school that say, look, you don't got much. Let me throw this money at you to influence this decision, and then you can come my way. And how, if you are one of those kids, if one of those kids are listening, who maybe doesn't come from much, and is throwing a bunch of money right away, and it's that temptation of taking that money right away, what would you advise them to make the smart decision for their football future and their academic future too?
Good question.
Man, college coaches hate coming to South Florida because you've got to deal with so many people just to get to the kid. You got to deal with the youth coach, the advisor now, grandma, auntie, you know what I mean? It's so many people, and they tell you that all the time. So over the course of you meeting all these people left and right, what can you do for me? You know what I mean? Yeah, if you give me this, you know, I can get him now, such and such. And then it just goes on. But the kid never knows.
Right.
Or you give the kid peanuts off of it.
Right.
Now, next thing you know, it's been a bunch of kids like that. You know, they end up being taken to Coal Town for school. This is a South Florida kid. Why you got them going, you know, to Nebraska or
Minnesota.
Ohio? Yeah, Minnesota. You know what I mean? Yeah, Michigan, like just cold places like that.
Right.
But that was the best deal for that person at the time. So the thing is, you just got to try to find someone you trust, man. Someone that's knowledgeable, someone that you trust, and that's been through it, or knows someone that can introduce you to the right person. Because too many times, man, everybody wants to get something out of it. Like, you just can't be happy for this person, or like come along for the ride or whatever. Like they gotta
that
get
crab
something.
in the barrel mindset.
Yeah,
though,
man.
you know what I mean? Naturally,
that's the thing. Like we just can't be cool. Like it has to be something from it.
Transactional, like, what am I getting out of it?
That's the bad part.
Yeah. Here's my last piece.
That's why it was so critical to have someone like him in my life.
Absolutely. I hear
you
the
know,
wisdom
who
right
like
now. Yeah.
already knew it. He was like, hey, Myron, any questions you got? Call me.
No, but Samari makes a great point, because it is extremely important for us young athletes, especially us young black athletes, to really have a mentor that also knows what they're talking about, though. You know what I mean? Now, how do you decipher through and weed through who that is? That's tough. That's part of the journey, I guess. But you make a great point, because obviously everybody's not going to meet Samari Rolle, the Pro Bowl NFL player that achieved this and achieved that. You know what I mean? But they might have met the varsity high school player who maybe he didn't make it because he hurt his leg or because his grades weren't good. And hopefully he can give back to that youth as well. But I did want to get my final piece really on the NIL, because I think it's great that players get money, because we should get money. And I'm talking we, because even us as former players, we obviously didn't get it. We didn't play in that window. But, you know, it is entertainment. And even in my job, for me to make the money that I make talking about college football, it's crazy. It really is. It really is. And I'm not saying that in a bragging way.
Right.
Just like, dang, man, like, wow, I'm literally talking ball. You know what I mean? Like, I'm watching tape. That's how I prepare. I talk to some coaches here and there. I get their view on what's going on practice and all that. And then I talk about it. I give my opinion. And I earned that because I played and I achieved certain things and all that kind of stuff. But I say that to players, man, you are the commodity. You know what I mean? Like, don't forget that.
Definitely.
And seriously, at the end of the day, like you said, the handler, the advisor, the little league coach, you as the player, you are the commodity. You know what I mean? You are the source. You're literally the engine that's getting this whole thing going. So, of course, don't be arrogant about that, but also still know you're the reason. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, you are the source.
Right.
And I think that's empowering when you know that, but obviously you got to handle that with responsibility is what I'm trying to say. So
that starts on the park. That mentality, that attitude, the enabling hurts down the line.
Right.
The best kid on the team, you know, he's the best from 7U, 8U, 9U, 10U. What happens when he stops growing?
Right.
Like 2 years ago, he was coming to practice whenever, you know, all the coaches gonna do whatever they can to make sure that he's at practice.
Right.
He's not growing as much now. He's, you know, now everybody's catching him. Everybody's
attention starts shifting.
Now the coach don't even,
Right.
you know what I mean?
Yep.
Now he's an afterthought. And it sucks, but that's how it is, man, down here. Like, football is, I won't say cutthroat down here, but it's kind of like,
no, it is.
Yeah, but it's kind of like you've got to do that. Like, you've got to go and bring your child to the rough environment in South Florida if you want them. I won't say to have success, but if you want them to have the toughness,
right?
Because as you all know, like if you have no toughness,
can't play.
You can't play.
Right.
And that's one thing I say that they do instill down here is toughness.
Right.
Coach might not be there on time. You know what I mean?
That's real. I hear
you know, like practice might supposed to start.
Yeah,
it might supposed to
we
start
had mismatched helmets, bro. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
it might start at 6. Last car put in 6:43. You know what I mean? Supposed to be
Lights
from 6
turn off,
to 8.
it's like,
Now we got the cars backed up. The lights on.
Yep,
You know what I mean?
Yep.
But you deal with it, man, because you know they care.
Yeah,
like that.
absolutely.
Like nothing is perfect.
Right.
Down here or football, like hardly in life, but football wise especially. You're not gonna find the perfect team. If this is the perfect team, Park is messed up. You know, it's like all the other bad stuff going around it. But that's where the foundation like is brought and built up together.
Yeah.
So once they get off the park, it's all up to them. Now, the thing that I don't like and I hate is when you got the little league coaches that try and talk the parent into holding their kid back. How are they developing when you don't know, say you play quarterback. Me playing another year on the park as opposed to going to high school, maybe I'll know what 7-8 switch now is. Maybe I'll know dagger concept. Maybe I'll know cover 3, outside vertical stretches to play the run or how to look somebody off. Or if you play DB, we're not doing footwork drills or learning how in quarters, the safety, go rob the trips, or 3-by-1 backside. The ball is coming like all they know is black. Black is blitz, white, cover 3, red, man. There's no development. Yeah, the development is you hoping that you got this kid on the park another year and the team is better and, you know, he's bigger than everybody, but how you gonna ask somebody to classify daddy's 5'8", and mom is 5'3". Daddy 5'8", mom 5'3".
It's a pipe dream,
and
man.
you right there with daddy.
Right.
You 12 and you right there with daddy. What are we doing? You know, baseball and basketball, I understand why they do that. You can get the year back in baseball or basketball. And you don't have to go to college. You can go overseas.
Right.
You can go to juke. You know what I mean? Like, you've got options.
Right.
And basketball, we know from 6th, 7th grade who's going to be drafted. Like, we know
for sure.
Carlos Boozer's son is going to be a top 3 pick since he's been in 9th grade.
Right. Yeah.
We knew that about Cooper Flagg. We know that about Ron Harper's son, Dylan Harper. Like, in basketball, you know. How old were you when you knew about DeJuan Wagner?
Oh, man. I was young, man.
And he was young too, right?
And he was young.
Shoot,
And we all knew Jersey. Like, this guy scored 100 points on the game.
Thank you.
Well, I remember hearing about Jason Tatum. I knew his cousin. She had told me, I got a cousin that plays basketball. I was like, I think it was my first or second year in the league. And she was like, he's playing in St. Louis and this and that. And I was like, how tall is he? She was like, 6'6". I was like, what grade is he in? She said, 7th grade. I was like, what? He played center? She's like, nah, he played a 2. So I knew, you know what I mean?
Like,
so you're right. Basketball
like
is
basketball,
different.
basketball
yeah.
and baseball, I can't say I can see it because I haven't been out there like that to see what that level looks like. But you can see it in basketball. Football, only kid I've seen on the park since I stopped playing when I came back, and I saw him like, man, he might be good enough. And if it was Dalvin Cook.
Right.
Like I didn't say, man, he's going to NFL, but you know, you look like,
Special.
he's as good as they
Central,
say.
right? Miami Central?
Yeah, but this is when he was playing on the park for Scott Lake. For Scott Park, he was playing. And so then I saw him in 10th grade, and now he's in high school at Central. Right. I'm like, oh yeah, he is that. Yeah. You know, so that's the thing, man. Like, don't, you know, kid is 5'8", or you know, everybody's short. Don't tell them to reclassify. Reclassifying is if you were supposed to graduate in 26 and now you're graduating in 25.
Right.
Flunking. That's what you're flunking.
Don't
That's
flunk
not
backwards.
Going the opposite way.
Backwards. It's that would be like if I'm playing football all through 11, 12, 13, then my dad is like, son, I want you to stay back. You know what I mean? We're going to let the big boys go. I don't know if you're ready. What? Yeah. Like, what confidence-wise?
Yeah.
Like, really? You don't think I'm ready?
Definitely.
Nah, man.
Definitely. Let me ask you this now, because we're in Miami, and you know, obviously the Tua situation happened here as a quarterback of the Miami Dolphins. Stated recently that he continues to want to play after having suffered a bunch of concussions, traumatic brain injury. We've discussed it a lot on our own sort of platforms. But you've dealt with injuries in your career. You know, your career ended, honestly, because of some injuries and even having, you know, a diagnosis of having seizures, right? That was something that we've talked about on a personal level that, you know, you sort of was open and vulnerable with me and speaking about that and how football contributed to that. So with knowing how dangerous a sport is, you mentioned earlier, even in talking to you today, you know, we know what we signed up for. Tua know what he signed up for. But do you see the game going in a direction that will allow it to stay, that makes sense for guys to take all the necessary precautions to keep themselves safe, whether it be guardian hats or Q collars or whatever the case may be? Can you see this game still surviving another 15, 20 years so we all can enjoy it, so our kids, as they get older, can play it at one time? Where do you see it?
I definitely. Did you see Ed Reed last night on Monday night?
He spoke on it?
Yeah, with Peyton and Eli. He was talking about the helmet thing.
The
guy,
the pad on the helmet.
The guy was
it does
wearing.
look funny though, but I mean, it probably,
I think one of the old linemen for the Bucks
that's what
wears
he.
it.
Yeah, that's what Ed went on like a tangent about it, and I felt him. You know what I mean? What he was saying, but it does look kind of crazy to have on. But man, as long as they throwing out $230 million guaranteed, like Deshaun Watson got, or like these receivers are getting, is somebody signing up, paying for this stuff? The fans, as long as they can look at their phone and do fantasy football and bet and this and that, like I really don't even think as many people watch the actual game now how they used to.
That's true.
You know what I mean? Like I'm in the fantasy league and I got this and this amount of yards. So I think it's great for the game because, you know, players are making way more money now. I went second round and my rookie year, my base salary was like $205,000, man. Guys, free agents now with like 7th round picks are getting like 1.5, $2 million deals. Like the base minimum now I think is 600, 700,000.
Wow.
But the players, I don't know, man. It's like they traded stuff now for stuff that you're gonna need back then. Like you can't have 2-a-days. You know, with padded practice in the room and stuff like that. So when you look and see, like, man, the game looks sloppy at times, there you have it. You got to practice.
You got to practice
Yeah,
tackling.
I think tackling, and I know I play quarterback, but I do think tackling has been a lost art too. Like the true tackling. I know in college we have targeting and all that kind of stuff, which I'm not a huge fan of. I don't think players should be thrown out of games for it. Then you can have like a 10, 15-yard penalty, maybe sit them out for that series, but don't penalize them. Because it's a bang-bang play a lot of times too. I don't think nobody's necessarily out there trying to spear nobody, trying to get the man on the ground, which is already hard to do.
Especially in the heat of the moment, you know. And in pivotal moments of the game, there was a game against Georgia, Texas, where they called like 2 targetings like back to back.
But technically, you could call targeting almost every play.
Every play you want.
Yeah, because and again, I didn't play defense. You know what I mean? But I'm sure mentality-wise for you guys, you just thought I got to strike whatever it is to get him down on the ground by any means. You know what I mean? Because that's your job. Yeah. My last question, Samari, more about the corner position. Because again, I think we're going to have a bunch of young men who watch this, but also specifically corners. Yeah. What do you think makes a great corner in today's game? Maybe not when you played, but now spread offenses with different variances and coverages. You talked about cover 4 and all those kinds of things, 4 cut, like all the different things that you have to play now. What do you think makes a great corner?
I think film study and playing to your strengths. A Denzel Ward, Jair Alexander, they're not really tall guys or stout guys, but they play with their feet and they play to their strengths. They're more quick than most guys. Athleticism, they got loose hips. To a guy like Little Pat or Sauce Gardner, tall
Long
guys, angler guys, but they use their length to their advantage.
The guy from the Seahawks. I can't remember his name.
Real tall.
Dude. The young guy. I can't think of his name because Witherspoon is the guy.
Right,
he's a dog.
But the other guy's good too.
Right,
I think it's started with a W or something. But
yes. Jalen Johnson is very good also for the Bears. Like, it's a lot of corners that guys really don't know about because they don't have the name that are really, really good technicians. Right. But that's the main thing. You've got to play to your strengths. Like, you can't get up there and try and unless you're Jalen Ramsey, getting up there muscling DK Metcalf, you're not gonna win that. Right. But watch film.
Right.
You know that most of his routes, he's gonna run bang eights, he's run goals, digs. So why don't you press bailing from outside and just stay on his hip? Yep. When you see 2 go to the flat, go now. Like, football doesn't change. That's the one thing Jerry Gray always harped us. He said, especially the third down stuff. He said teams do not have enough time to change everything around on third down. Right. He said it's going to be the same plays, just getting to it from different ways.
Right.
Yeah. And once you just find 3-4 plays, base plays, red zone plays, third down plays, and just wait for them, man.
Great stuff, man. Well, this part of the show, we'll wrap it up. We always try to give our fresh take of the show. Again, obviously, this is the Freshman Podcast. I'll go first. But my biggest takeaway that I thought stuck with me, man, is you talked about the authenticity piece and that being something that you respect. I'm the same way. I think it's so important for us all, and I don't even think it necessarily has to do with sports, man. I think just as a human, as a person, be who you are. You know what I mean? Like, I think in today's age, I understand, some people may not like it, some people like it, but ultimately do what makes you happy. You know what I mean? As a person. Right. You know what I'm saying? That's what I took away from when you said that. Yes. Be true to who you are. Because, look, everybody's not going to like you as a player. Everybody's not going to like you as, whatever it may be, and be okay with that. You know what I'm saying? I think the sooner that you can grasp that and understand you're not going to be a fan or not going to get a fan from every single person, but you can still be authentic to yourself. And that's what I think we all owe each other. You know what I mean? To just be our authentic selves. So that's my first takeaway, and I appreciate you sharing that. Yeah. Yeah,
my fresh takeaway, and then we'll pass it to Nob for yours. But my fresh takeaway, which I thought was so pivotal and I like to illuminate even more, was when you talked about, being responsible over a little bit and how you react to having that little bit, right? If you get $700,000 for NIL, what are you going to do when we're giving you more responsibility, added management, added problems, added individuals coming to, maybe get that money from you or do business with you or do deals with you? Because I think that concept transcends into life, right? I mean, if you're able to manage a small firm of people, 3-4 people, and you do it well, then you're going to have an increase later on in life where you're going to be managing a whole company of 20 employees and then 100, and then it goes even broader. So if you're able to sort of practice your perfection and perfect your craft and continue to move in the direction of skill and talent and leadership, even with small things, then it prepares you for what's to come in the future. I look at my own career as a brain surgeon as, okay, if I'm able to do these simpler cases and I'm able to do them well, proficiently, in a good amount of time with the right anesthesia, working their moves, and I'm doing my moves and I'm doing it well, then when the complex cases come, I've already done the reps and I'm able to handle the bigger cases and able to save more lives and do those things. So I thought that was so profound, and I appreciate you for coming on and sharing that with us. But what's your fresh take? What's something that you want to leave our audience
My fresh
with?
take, man, is this is more laid back than I expected, man. This is really cool. Because when you're looking at it, like, oh man, it's like, you got the suits on, like really studious. You know what I mean?
Button up, baby. Button up, baby.
Got the Monroe coat,
right. I brought my glasses and all, man. They're over there. I brought my glasses and all. But like, this is good, man. To see guys that I remember as recruits in high school, and obviously Myron and I have a really close relationship, but seeing you guys transform from being like having rivals.com profiles to now having families and you know what I mean, seeing it through and just being able to see what you all became. Cool, like we've had this discussion many times, just to hear your name called. I told you, not everyone can say that. You waited, Christian Ponder, waited your time, became a first-round draft pick. Like, what more can you ask for? You saw it through.
Yep.
That was my freshest take.
Appreciate that, brother.
Respect. Hey, that does it for us, man. Again, another great episode with Samari. We appreciate the time.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us, man. And that does it for us. Talk to y'all.